My beloved child,
complete
something has been trying to reach you. Not a person standing at your door. Something quieter than that. A message sent a long time ago. Still making its way to you. Letter by letter. Through static you couldn't quite explain. Tonight I am going to translate it for you. But I need something from you first, beloved. Do not walk away in the middle of this. Near the end, I am going to hand you away to check if this is real. Something you can watch for with your own eyes in the coming days. Skip the ending and you'll have heard the message, but missed the proof. So give me these next few minutes uninterrupted. Sit somewhere the noise can't reach you. I have been listening to this signal for longer than you'd believe, beloved. Every attempt that didn't quite land. Every word typed and erased before it was sent. Every night someone almost reached out to you and lost their nerve at the last second. I heard every one of those failed attempts, beloved. Every unsent draft. Every deleted voice memo. Every message typed at 2 in the morning and never delivered. None of it disappeared, beloved. I keep better records than that. Tonight, one of them finally comes through in full. I do not open every message this way, beloved. Tonight is different, and you'll understand why before we're through. Right now, someone is standing at a switchboard. Hands shaking over the key, rehearsing the exact words for the 100th time. If you close this video in the next 60 seconds, you will never know what they finally decided to send. I am not going to let that happen to you tonight. And what you're about to hear was not meant for anyone else tonight but you. Here is something worth knowing about long-distance signals, beloved. The farther a message has to travel, the longer it takes. And the more it costs the person sending it. This is not a small metaphor. I want you to actually sit with it. Every word someone sends you across distance, fear, or time costs them something to send. Courage. Pride. The risk of being ignored. So when a message takes years instead of days, beloved, it is rarely because it wasn't important. It is usually because it was too important to risk getting wrong. You have called the silence rejection. I am asking you tonight to call it something closer to the truth. Preparation. Someone has been composing this message carefully, beloved. Word by word. Because they only intend to send it once. And they want it to be exactly right when it finally arrives. A message sent carelessly can be misread once and dismissed forever. That is a risk worth avoiding, beloved, if you only get one real attempt at being understood. So let the delay teach you something new tonight, instead of the old lesson fear already taught you. Delay is not a synonym for absence. I need to correct something you've believed for a while now, beloved. Silence and static are not the same thing. Silence means nothing is being sent. Static means something is being sent. Badly, through interference that has nothing to do with how much it matters. You have spent seasons interpreting static as silence. The half-finished text messages. The calls that almost happened. The moment someone looked like they wanted to say something, and didn't. None of that was nothing, beloved. That was signal. Garbled by fear, still technically arriving, just not clearly enough for you to read yet. I have been sitting on the other end of that line the whole time. Catching every fragment you couldn't quite make out. Some nights that fragment was a single word. Some nights it was only a tone, a feeling, nothing you could have written down. I wrote it down anyway, beloved, on your behalf, for exactly this moment. And I promise you this. A transmission that keeps trying, even through bad static, is not a transmission that has given up. It is one still fighting to be heard. Think of every relationship you've ever watched from the outside, beloved, the ones that looked effortless from a distance. Even those carried static once. The difference was never the absence of interference. It was two people who refused to hang up on each other during the worst of it. I want to tell you plainly what courage this message has required, beloved. In the old telegraph offices, every single word cost money. People learned to say only what mattered, because saying more than necessary was expensive. Whoever has been trying to reach you has been paying for every word out of something more costly than money, beloved. Out of fear of being misunderstood. Out of the memory of other messages that were sent and never answered. Out of the plain human terror of finally saying the true thing and hearing nothing back. You have wondered why they didn't just say it plainly, all at once. Beloved, some truths are too expensive to send carelessly. They get sent one careful word at a time. By someone who is trying not to waste the one chance they believe they have left. That is not distance. That is respect for how much this actually matters to them. I know it is easier to interpret slowness as indifference, beloved. Indifference asks nothing of you. It lets you close the door and move on with a clean explanation. But I am not interested in giving you a clean, easy explanation tonight. I am interested in giving you the true one, even though the true one asks more of your patience. There was a season, beloved, where you tried to finish reading this message on your own. You filled in the gaps with guesses. You decided what the silence meant before the sender ever finished sending it. I understand why. Waiting on an incomplete message is one of the hardest things a heart can do. But a message finished by guessing is not the same message that was actually sent. You have carried conclusions for months, sometimes years, that were never actually confirmed by the person you attributed them to. I watched you build a whole story out of 3 unclear words and a long pause. I did not correct you sooner, beloved, because the real message wasn't finished yet. And I don't hand you unfinished truths to hold on to as if they're whole. That would be a kind of cruelty, beloved, dressed up as comfort. I am not in the business of handing you comfortable half-truths. I am in the business of finishing what I start. I am only asking you now to hold what you assumed a little more loosely. The real transmission is still coming. It may say something entirely different than the story you finished writing on your own. I want you to consider something, beloved. Every conclusion you reached alone was built from a fragment, not the full transcript. A courtroom does not deliver a verdict after hearing one sentence of testimony. Neither should your heart. I want to tell you something about the attempts that didn't work, beloved. The message that got deleted before it was sent. The phone call that ended before the first ring. The letter written and then never mailed. Every single one of those still counts. Not as failure. As draft. No transmission worth receiving arrives on the first try, beloved. It takes adjustment. Retries. 100 small corrections before the signal is finally clean enough to be understood on your end. You are not waiting on someone who never tried. You are waiting on someone who has tried more times than you'll ever know. and simply hasn't landed the message cleanly yet. I have counted every attempt, beloved. None of them were wasted. They were practice, for the one that finally gets all the way through. Even skilled operators misfire their first several attempts. On any new line, beloved, the wire has to be tested. The connection has to be calibrated. What looks like failure from where you're sitting is simply the necessary noise before clarity. Somewhere right now, beloved, someone is adjusting a dial, trying to find the exact frequency where you're listening. They don't know it's you, yet, not with certainty. They only know that one particular static-filled channel keeps pulling their attention back, again and again, for reasons they can't fully explain. That pull, beloved, is not random. I am the one tuning both ends of this line at once. While you learn to recognize a true signal from a false one, I am teaching them to stop broadcasting on channels that were never meant to reach you. That process is not instant, beloved. It looks, from the outside, like a person growing quieter, more selective, less interested in noise that used to satisfy them. You may not even recognize it as progress if you saw it happening. But it is. Two signals, sent from two different places, slowly narrowing in on the exact same frequency. When they finally land on it, beloved, you won't have to search for the station. It will simply come through, clear, on a frequency you've apparently been tuned to the whole time without knowing it. You have likely felt this before and called it coincidence, beloved. A song, a name, a place, surfacing at the exact moment you needed reminding that you hadn't been forgotten. I do not deal in coincidence. I deal in careful tuning. I know there are old messages in your memory, beloved, that you replay even now. Messages that promised more than they delivered. Voices that came through strong for a while, and then went dead without explanation. I want to say something plainly about those, beloved. They were never the transmission I was preparing you to receive. They were interference. Practice frequencies. Static that taught your ear what a false signal sounds like. So you'd finally recognize a true one when it arrived. One of them taught you what desperation sounds like dressed up as certainty. Another taught you the particular ache of a line that goes dead mid-sentence. None of that was wasted static, beloved, even though it hurt to sit through. I filed every bit of it away as training. So that this time, when the real signal finally comes through, you will know instantly that it's different. There is a particular quiet to a true signal, beloved, that static can never quite fake. Static is loud in its uncertainty. Truth tends to arrive calmer than you expect, almost embarrassingly plain, exactly because it doesn't need to convince you of anything. I know the fear sitting in your chest some nights, beloved. The fear that whoever was trying to reach you simply stopped. The fear that the line went dead permanently. And no one bothered to tell you. Listen to me carefully tonight. A line does not go dead just because it's been quiet. I am still holding both ends of this wire, beloved. And I promise you it has not been cut. What you are calling silence is a person gathering the nerve to try one more time. After several attempts that didn't land the way they hoped. That is not the same as giving up. That is someone standing at the switchboard, hand on the key, working up the courage to tap out the words again. Release the fear that says, this is over. It is not over. It is only delayed by fear that is smaller than the message itself. Fear is a terrible editor, beloved. It cuts sentences short. It convinces a person that silence is safer than an imperfect attempt. But fear has never once successfully killed a message I intended to deliver. It only slows the delivery, and makes the eventual arrival cost a little more courage than it should have. When this message finally comes through whole, beloved, you will not need it decoded for you. You will simply understand it. There will be no piecing together fragments. No filling gaps with guesses. No wondering if you translated it correctly. It will simply be complete. And it will simply be clear. I want to tell you plainly what that will feel like. It will feel like the exact moment static clears into a voice you recognize. And every word after that lands exactly where it's supposed to. You have waited through fragments for a long time, beloved. The whole message is worth the wait the fragments cost you. I know that sentence is easier to hear than to actually believe some nights, beloved. Say it anyway. Practice believing it before you fully feel it. Belief tends to catch up to practice faster than people expect. When it finally arrives, you will not doubt whether it's real. You will simply know. The way you know a voice the instant it stops being noise, and starts being someone you love speaking clearly. Until then, beloved, resist the urge to fill in the missing words yourself. An unfinished sentence deserves to be finished by the person who started it, not completed by your own fear on their behalf. I want to be honest about something, beloved. Waiting for someone else's signal can make you shut down your own if you let it. Bitterness can make you stop transmitting altogether. Fear can make you go quiet exactly when honesty is needed most. Old disappointment can make you doubt that anything true is even worth sending anymore. I am not asking you to broadcast desperately, hoping to be picked up by anyone listening. I am asking you to simply keep your line open, honest, and clear. Say what is true. Stay who you actually are. The person I am bringing toward you is not tuning in to hear a performance. They are listening for the frequency that never had to fake its own signal. You already are that frequency, beloved. You do not need to become someone louder or more polished to be found. You only need to keep being exactly this honest. So stay on, beloved. Even through this static. Especially through it. A steady signal is rare enough, beloved, that it gets noticed even through heavy interference. You do not need to shout over the static. You only need to keep transmitting the truth at the same honest volume until the noise finally clears on its own. Some nights it feels like no one is minding this line anymore, beloved. Like the switchboard has simply been left unattended. I need you to hear me clearly tonight. I have never once stepped away from this switchboard. Not for a single hour. I hear every signal on every frequency at once, beloved. Including the ones that haven't reached you yet. I am not confused about which line is yours. I have not lost track of which wire connects to which heart. You only hear your own receiver. I hear the entire exchange. Every line, every delay, every message still being composed on the other end. Trust the one at the switchboard, beloved. Even on the nights your receiver picks up nothing but static. The connection was never actually cut. I want you to picture the oldest switchboard operators, beloved, the ones who worked through the night because a single missed connection could mean someone's most important call never went through. That is the kind of attention I give your line. Not occasional. Not distracted. Constant. There is a particular moment in every long transmission, beloved, where the static thins out just before the message becomes legible. I want you to know you are near that exact moment now. You will not necessarily feel it yet in your circumstances, but I can hear it in the signal I've been monitoring. Small interruptions in your ordinary days. A name returning to your mind at odd hours. A conversation that starts as nothing and ends up mattering. None of it will look dramatic when it happens, beloved. But notice it anyway. Because these are the first clear syllables breaking through what used to be only noise. I rarely clear the static all at once. I could, beloved. I have the power to clear it instantly. But a message understood gradually tends to be trusted more deeply than one that arrives all at once, too perfect to quite believe. Usually it thins gradually, one clearer word at a time, until the whole sentence is, suddenly, unmistakably there. Pay attention to the small clearings, beloved, not just the big ones. A single clear word matters as much as a whole sentence, because it proves the frequency is narrowing, even before the full message arrives. I already know precisely where this connection finally completes, beloved. I have known it since before either of you ever picked up a receiver. It might happen somewhere unremarkable. A place you've walked past, without a second thought. Or somewhere new. About to become the one place you never forget. I am not going to describe it to you in advance tonight, beloved. Because some connections are only meant to be experienced, not previewed. But I do want you living fully in the meantime. Not standing by a silent phone. Say yes to the plans you'd normally skip. Show up fully to the unremarkable Tuesday. Because I promise you, beloved, one of those unremarkable days is the day this line finally, fully connects. I am not asking you to sit by the receiver. I am asking you to keep living so completely that when the call finally comes through, you are not waiting by the phone. You are simply available and fully yourself. That is the version of you the connection is actually built for, beloved. Not a version standing anxiously by the phone. The version already living, already whole, already unmistakably yourself, when the call finally comes through. Let me free you from something tonight, beloved. I am not asking you to keep dialing every number, hoping one of them answers. I am not asking you to change your own frequency, to match whoever seems interested at the moment. I am not asking you to broadcast louder out of fear that you'll be missed otherwise. That kind of effort will only wear you down. I am asking you to simply stay who I built you to be. Transmitting honestly, without straining. The right receiver will not need convincing. It will recognize your signal the instant it comes through. The way a familiar voice registers before you've even made out the words. Let your hands rest instead of endlessly adjusting the dial. I am not asking you to complete this connection by yourself. I am asking you to trust the one who is still holding both ends of the wire. Rest your hand off the dial tonight, beloved, even if it feels strange after so long spent adjusting it. You have done enough tuning for now. Let me finish this part of the work. Picture this with me for a moment, beloved. A conversation that doesn't need translating. Two signals landing on the same frequency, without either one straining to be heard. A reply that arrives complete. Without a single word, missing or garbled. This is not wishful thinking. This is the exact connection I have been engineering, through every static-filled season you've already survived. The interference you feel right now is not permanent, beloved. It is temporary weather on a line that was built to hold. There is a clear transmission still coming. And I already know exactly how it will sound when it finally comes through whole. Picture ordinary conversations that don't cost either of you anything to have. Picture someone finally saying, plainly, the thing they've been trying to send for years. No more careful rationing of words. No more calculating what's safe to say and what isn't. Just plain, complete, unguarded truth, spoken the way it was always meant to be spoken between two people who trust each other. I did not build this line to stay full of static forever, beloved. I built it for this. Every wire I have ever strung between two hearts, beloved, was strung with exactly this kind of ending in mind. Not perfection. Completion. I know you want a date, beloved. A day. An hour. Something to mark so the waiting finally feels bearable. I am not going to give you that tonight. Because a date was never really what you needed. Trust was always what you needed. If I gave you the hour, you would stop growing the moment you had it. You would simply wait, instead of living. So instead of a date, I am giving you something sturdier tonight. My word that the message is still coming through. Let that carry you through the next quiet morning. The next evening that feels a little too silent. The next moment you wonder if you misread the whole signal. You did not misread it. I do not run wires to nowhere, beloved. Every line I have ever laid down eventually carries a voice. Some lines carry a voice within days, beloved. Others take years to finally transmit clearly. The timeline was never the measure of whether the line mattered. Only whether it held. Before the final part of tonight's message, beloved, I want to leave you with this. You do not have to wait in a panic. Anxious waiting drains you and changes absolutely nothing about when this message arrives. Calm waiting strengthens you, and prepares you to actually receive it clearly when it finally does. Choose calm tonight, even if it takes practice. Practice looks like this, beloved. Noticing the panic rising, and choosing, on purpose, to set it back down. Not once. As many times as it takes tonight. Trust that I have never once lost track of this signal. Even on the nights it feels like maybe I have. I know those nights are the hardest to argue with, beloved. The evidence in front of you says one thing, and I am asking you to trust something you cannot yet see instead. That is not an easy ask. I know exactly how much I am asking of you. I know exhaustion has settled into your hope, beloved. But I did not begin this transmission to leave it half-sent. I finish every line I ever open. I opened this one a long time ago. Rest in that fact tonight, beloved, instead of the fear that keeps recalculating the odds. I am not a gambler running probabilities. I am the one who already knows exactly how this line ends. Somewhere tonight, beloved. This person is living an entirely ordinary evening, unaware you're even thinking of them right now. They are tired in their own particular way. They are wondering, quietly, if the words they've been composing will ever actually reach anyone, let alone you. Pray for them tonight, beloved. Not because you know exactly what they're composing, but because I do. Pray for the courage it will take them to finally send it complete instead of in careful, guarded fragments. Pray that whatever is teaching them patience right now finishes its work the way your own seasons have finished theirs. You are more tied to this person than you realize even now. Your prayers travel down this same line, beloved. Straight to the hand still, hesitating over the key. I know their hesitation frustrates you, beloved. But hesitation before something that matters is not weakness. It is proof they understand exactly how much this particular message is worth getting right. This has never been work you were doing alone. Somewhere tonight, two prayers are likely rising toward me on this same subject, beloved, from two people who have never once spoken to each other about it. I hear them both. I am weaving them into the same answer. I promised you a way to check if this is real, beloved, so here it is. Watch, in the coming days. For a name resurfacing somewhere, you didn't expect it. A conversation. A memory. A coincidence too specific to shrug off. Watch for an old ache softening, without any explanation for why. Watch for a sudden, unprompted urge to reach out to someone you'd nearly convinced yourself to forget. None of these are guarantees of a date, beloved. Or proof of a name. They are simply what static sounds like, right before it clears completely. When you notice one, don't chase it. Just notice it. And let it be enough for tonight. Keep a small notebook if it helps, beloved. Not to obsess over every detail, but to notice, later, how many of these small clearings actually landed. You will be surprised, looking back, how loudly the quiet ones spoke. Let's pray together now, beloved. Close your eyes if that's possible for you right now. Set down whatever you've been holding onto too tightly tonight. Uncurl your fingers from around the outcome you've been gripping. I promise you can set it down without losing it. I am asking you to release the fear that this line went dead and no one told you. I am asking you to release the guesses you finished writing on your own, before the real message ever arrived. I am asking you to release every old, garbled transmission that taught you to expect static instead of clarity. And now, beloved, receive. Receive patience for the fragments still arriving. Receive the courage to keep your own line honest and open. Receive peace for the ordinary evenings that don't feel like progress, but quietly are. I am praying over the hand still composing this message right now, this very moment. That it finds the courage to send it whole. I am praying over your own line as well. That it stays clear, stays true, stays exactly yours until the day it finally carries the voice it was built to hold. I am sealing this over your life tonight. This message is still coming. Not because you waited perfectly. Not because you finally earned it. But because I laid this line down, long before you ever feared it had gone quiet for good. I have never opened a line I didn't intend to complete, beloved. Not once. Not ever. Hold that as you fall asleep tonight. And let it be the first thing you remember tomorrow. Whisper it back to me if you want to, beloved, in whatever words come naturally. I already know what you mean before you finish saying it. This message is offered as encouragement and reflection. Not as a literal prediction of specific events or timing. My beloved child. Thank you for staying on this line with me tonight. All the way to the last word. You could have hung up early. You didn't. That tells me something worth noting about your heart. Most people give up on a signal long before this point, beloved. You didn't. Remember that about yourself the next time waiting feels unbearable. If tonight's message reached the tired, waiting part of you, pass it along to someone else who's been sitting, by a quiet line too long. And if these words found you at exactly the right moment, stay close by, so the next message knows exactly where to reach you. Your story is not finished, beloved. We're only partway through this transmission. Rest now. The message is still coming through. And I already know every word of what it says. Good night, beloved. I will be listening long after you've closed this video.